Friday, March 9th, 2018. It's time for Progressive Washington with Rhonda, Courtney, and Brian.
Welcome to Progressive Washington. I'm Rhonda Walker.
And I'm Courtney Love. And of course, we're joined by Brian Cheeseman, who is moderating the YouTube chat. So be sure to preface any questions with capital letter question, and he will interrupt us as appropriate.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in today's show. We have a great lineup today. We have Tyler Vega, who is running for Congress in CD6. And then we'll also be joined later on with Brian Cheeseman. He's going to talk about standing up to the LNG and the 253. And Courtney will be coming in as well, talking about some more Washington legislation, the good and the ugly and all that great stuff. I'm really looking forward to today's show. How have you guys been?
Good, good. Thank you very much. It's always fun.
Right? So today, we all know and love our first guest, our only guest today, Tyler Vega. He is the founder of Washington Berniecrat's coalition, and how we got to know him from the beginning is just an amazing story. So I'm really looking forward to talking with him. Tyler, are you with us today?
Right here.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course, always happy to do it.
So Courtney and we both kind of fought over who was going to do the interview today, because we both have so much history. So Courtney allowed me to take the lead.
I'm so gracious.
Yes, you are. So a little bit to beginning about yourself, about how you got involved, I guess we want to point out, to the Bernie, because we are the Berniecrats doing the show. You've been involved with the Berniecrats for the last couple of years now, and we have a picture of you out on the road. Actually, we'll come to in a little bit about you working for Bernie. But just talk about your congressional District 6 real quick. What does it encompass? What parts are in there that you'll be?
Well, the geographic location of CD6 is really the entire Olympic Peninsula. Part of Tacoma, the northeastern part of Tacoma, all the way out to the northern part of Grace Harbor, all the way up to Neah Bay, and then out to where I'm physically located in Port Townsend. So the larger cities in the district are Port Angeles, Port Townsend, Tacoma, Paulsbo, Silverdale, and all of the west side of the Puget Sound. It's a very large district, and most of the district is actually the park is the Olympic the
Olympic National Forest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find a better word for it that's a little bit more old school than that. But yeah, we are kind of the last bastion of true nature in the lower 48, and the reason why most of us live here.
The rainforests.
Yeah.
The rainforests. So we saw the picture already, you outside of the Bernie van. So you were an integral player. I actually met you during the first time in face-to-face anyway, at the Washington State Convention. You were outside with a bunch of candidates, letting them speak. You gave them space to be able to speak to all of us. That was wonderful. What all did you do with the Bernie campaign?
Well, that was the first major event. Actually, that was the day I met both of you two. It was the idea at the time was really centered around Bernie at the time. That's passed away now. It's really about not be us. It's about us. It's not at all about Bernie anymore. But at the time, it was clear that the superdelegate issue was going to rule the day. It was clear that the Democratic Party was going to nominate whoever they chose, and the vehicle they were going to use to do that was the superdelegates. So I went around and looked at all of the elected superdelegates that we had in Washington State that were challengeable. And I found one person in every race to gather together as one voice to say, hey, look, if you guys are seriously going to ignore the wishes of your constituents, we're going to try to do something about that and replace you. Although we weren't successful in that campaign, we did gather that group of individuals. And I think there were 10 superdelegates in Washington state and 5 of them were seeking re-election that very year. And so that whole campaign was all about that. It was about putting pressure on these people. And as it turns out, that doesn't result in that much pressure because the system is so heavily rigged in these people's favor that our voice is really quite quiet. But all of those people are still being challenged, and we're challenged at that time, and they know we're here. And I've had face-to-face conversations with some of them in organized events where their challengers are interacting in such a way that they're not going to forget easily that the people are up and aware and care and are not really okay with the way things are rigged, which of course has led me to this, to the primary focus of my current campaign, which is all about Article the First, the original First Amendment of the Constitution, which still, despite having been ratified, has yet to be enacted and is, in my opinion, the only solution to most of our problems, at least politically, if not socially and beyond.
So we've done an interview with you before regarding Article the First, but for those that missed that can go back and watch that, of course, can you just do a brief summary of that?
Absolutely. Again, this is the whole focus of my campaign. I'm not necessarily here. I'm happy to get elected to this position, but what I'm really doing is pushing Article the First. Originally, when this country was founded, there were 12 amendments, and 11 of them have been enacted. The first one, and the most important by far, took a little bit more hashing out than the rest of them, basically because we had things like slavery to deal with, and representation was considered the only way we could make a republic or a functional democracy through this concept of representation. And the forefathers, in all of their flaws, knew that if we did not maintain representation, that we would basically degenerate into aristocracy, oligarchy, whatever you want to call it, which we have. And so the Article the First basically defended the people's right to have representation in the government through the House of Representatives, which is our voice in the government. It's our only voice. You know, we're not represented by the president. We're not represented by the judicial branch. We're not represented really by the Senate. The Senate's job was to represent the states. The president was the ultimate veto power, and the judicial branch was designed to interpret. The people were supposed to speak to the government through the House of Representatives. And so at the time, there was this huge conversation about how that should be protected throughout the ages, and they eventually came to the conclusion that there needed to be one representative for every 50,000 people. And that was sent out and ratified by the right number of people, but never, the word is promulgated. It was never enacted. And to this day has not been enacted. And so there's a lawsuit right now in court in DC that will go all the way to the Supreme Court that readdresses this yet again, not for the first time, but likely for the last time, because the evidence is quite clear in this age, in the third millennium. We have the ability to see the evidence clearly, quickly, and concisely, and it's pretty obvious. It's it was not only ratified once, but I believe 3 different times. It has officially passed the test to become an amendment in the Constitution. So when we talk about the First Amendment, we're not talking about freedom of speech and press. We're talking about the original First Amendment back in the day, which had to do everything had to do with representation, and it is the entire conversation that our way of governing is based on. And it's been lost. It's been checked. We have 435 representatives for all 300 million of us right now, and it's just not functioning.
Wow, it would be nice to actually start feeling like we were getting represented. So if we were doing every 50,000 people here in Washington State, about how many more representatives would we end up getting out of it?
Well, that's actually an interesting. That's one of the reasons why this has come to the forefront as the solution to our problems, the silver bullet, if you will. Because it would increase the size of the House of Representatives by a factor of 8 or so, which would basically mean that we're all getting elected. Me and Sarah Smith and Tamborine Borelli and Dorothy Gasquet, these amazing candidates, Robert, are all getting elected, and suddenly the people would have a supermajority in the House of Representatives. It's just kind of the way it's designed. And having a supermajority is no small thing. It basically means that you can do what you want, because that's the way our country is supposed to work. If the people agree on something, you're supposed to be able to do it. The vast majority of people, for example, agree on single-payer healthcare, on universal healthcare. So we would just be able to do that, period, done. Also, we have a insane monkey as a president who is supposed to be checked by the House of Representatives and is not. And he's rampant as a result of not having any checks. We're designed on a system of checks and balances that doesn't have any checks and therefore has no balance. That's the House of Representatives' job. So when we increase this to 8 times its natural, its current state to the proper state, we have the ability to eliminate serious problems like the president. And if we have to, then we just keep on moving down the chain, and Mike Pence would be after that, and Paul Ryan would be this as the speaker would be after that. And it's not that simple. I'm oversimplifying it because of just for sake of time.
Right.
But the truth is that that's the only body that does that job. How it does it is not so much relevant, and it is relevant that it is not doing it, and it can do it after we win this lawsuit.
Right. And you call yourself like a single candidate, a single issue candidate. But I always try to disagree with you, because you're not out there just talking about this. You're also talking about universal health care, single payer, sustainability, responsible use of military force. You've got, you're more than one issue.
Yeah. And when I say that, I'm joking, because I want to draw the focus to that issue, because it is the issue that can really solve all our problems. Universal health care is required. It's what the people are behind, and it's what we need to keep our people whole and healthy, so that we can, it's required maintenance. Article the first is, let's solve some problems here. So I'm really not a one issue candidate at all. I have this 78-foot schooner that I want to sail around and clean up the ocean and put people like you guys on to get progressive candidates elected, and every issue that is on the progressive platform, on the platform you yourself are spearheading, is all very dear to my heart. So I apologize for jesting too seriously about that. I am all about all of those things.
Yes. You did bring up your ship. So can you talk about the Nina Coty, the flagship? So you've not only been very aware politically, but you have been an activist all your life. You've done some amazing things, but one of the main things that is near and dear to your heart is cleaning up the ocean. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not on the front burner. It can't be, because we have too many more serious problems. But, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, we have one of the 5 gyres of the world, which is an estimated 70 trillion tons of human waste floating around in the middle of the ocean. And it all coalesces in this one giant soup of nastiness that basically nobody knows how to tackle and deal with. And when I learned about this years ago, I was like, oh man, this is going to take lifetimes. We better get started. And so I started, I was already studying, the nautical science, but started getting real serious about that. I bought a little boat, learned how to sail it, started tackling all these systems. Now I've just finished my 4th round of being an assistant in the captain's class, where the captain who teaches captains to be captains, and have also applied for my own captain's license, all with the long-term goal of beginning the process of solving this. And there's a man on the East Coast who's dealing with the Atlantic gyre. Boyan Slat is his name, who's very successful. He's raised a huge pile of money and has a way he'll go about doing that. And it's moving forward. It's really beautiful to watch. Nobody as of now is doing anything but research on the North Pacific gyre, which is the largest. And so my long-term goal before I die is to begin the process of cleaning that up. And the Nina Otaki was this, it's a dream boat. It has, it contains all of these ideas and desires of making the world a better place. And one of the long-term goals is to be a part of this cleanup mission. On the way, the idea is that if you can imagine that ship pulled up to a dock, it's a stage with these giant banner poles. So you can put the face of your candidate up between the masts on the sails, and put a couple of Mackies up next to a band and a speaker, and basically have a mobile party to draw attention to the issues and to the people that are going to fight for the issues. And so that's the intention. If we can find the crew and the funds to move that, to keep that running, which is no small task. It's actually a very, very challenging task. We'll do that. And so this conversation is also, part of this conversation is a call out to look for that crew, people who are dedicated to the movement, who are comfortable with the rustic lifestyle that is living on the water. It is challenging and must be taken seriously. And the willingness to take the issues that we all care about and move them forward in a powerful way. It's a vessel, a literal and figurative, metaphorical vessel to do that work.
I can't wait. I know that we're hoping that we'll be able to get it into Tacoma the weekend of May 6th for the big rally. I can't believe being able to pull up and have the stage right on the water, how amazing that would be for all of our candidates and all of the issues.
Yeah, well, anything that you do that kind of makes it interesting is useful. People don't really want to deal with politics. People who care do, but people, the lay person, it's too much time and too much energy. But if you can turn it into a party and have it be interesting, and pirates are in. This is a pirate ship, and it's time to make use of it as such. May 6th, incidentally, is the last day of filing week. So that is a very, very significant time in the lives of candidates. And I'd like to get the ship down there sooner. I myself need 1,700 signatures in order to file for office, and I need them before that. So it would be nice to be doing events before then.
I do want to interject just a
Absolutely.
moment. I'm sorry. But I believe May 18th is the end of filing week. But it's still very close proximity-wise, and we do need to get signatures in before then.
Yeah, well, we should check that. Okay. My understanding, we can check that. But the signatures obviously have to be gathered long before, as 1,700 have to be acquired.
Good point. It might be signatures need to be turned in before.
The signatures get turned in during filing week, whichever week it is. And
okay.
In any case, that would be really cool if that event happened to be before filing. Would be really cool, because it might give us just enough to get over the hump on that one. And all of our candidates really should be using signatures, not dollars, because a pay-to-play system is not really fair. It's prohibitive. I don't make a lot and I don't have a lot, but I'm stable. And, the thought of coming up with $1,700 to run for office is daunting. It's probably prohibited for me myself, and it really should be done by signatures. So the same conversation, we need people who are willing to go out of their way to gather signatures alongside I-1600 for me and for Robert, and for Dorothy is already doing it, but certainly Sarah and Tambourine. And, keep the money in these campaigns, and ideally keep the money in the pockets of the people, because our system is stuck and broken such that we are all being crushed by it. And last thing we need to be doing is throwing money into plastic yard signs. I understand that has to be done for the good of the whole, but ideally not. And so every time we have a chance to circumvent that, then we should do so.
So each signature represents like $1 towards
Literally.
Your filing fee. Yeah, 1-to-1. So, and you can find those signature forms on the secretary.
Just go to my webpage, tylervega.com. They'll be, you'll be one click away. It's a lot easier than surfing through their page. Kim Wyman doesn't really want you to know that data is there. It's a lot of work for her, and she's invested in the system staying the way it is. But it is there. You can find it if you Google filing fee petition, I think, within the SOS website. But easier to go to tylervega.com.
Wonderful. Oh, go ahead.
So I looked up the filing week dates, and the key dates are May 1st is the first filing first day the filing officer may receive candidate declarations by mail. The 15th is the official candidate filing week open, and May 19th is the final day for all candidates to file for office.
Great, thank you. That changes the significance of that early May gathering incredibly. And I'm very glad to know that. That actually that has a massive impact on my plans, actually.
Excellent.
I think, Brian, do you have a question from the audience?
There was one question from Dengok. How are your views around the subject of worker co-ops and unions?
Yeah, I'm very much in favor. That to me is it's a fractal of democracy. Really, it's the same conversation as the House of Representatives conversation. The people en masse use this distillation process by which they check the powers of greed. Capitalism is the harnessing of greed, basically, in a nutshell. And the only thing that's going to check it is people's A, goodwill, and B, their need to survive and thrive. And the worker co-ops and worker unions are the embodiment of the solution to that problem. And so if we're going to maintain, if we're going to keep free enterprise, quote unquote, and continuing in this capitalist system, which I'm not necessarily for or against, I'm just accepting it as it is. The only way we're going to not have the people be further enslaved or further pushed into serfdom are these structures, the unions and the worker-owned co-ops. So I'm 100% in favor of those things and consider them the last bastion of true democracy in our world, actually.
Wow, nice. Any others, Brian, while we're looking at the questions?
Nope, nothing much. Oh, wait, got one question. Is capitalism and morality mutually exclusive? From Jilly.
No, it's apples and oranges. Capitalism is just nature. It's the self-serving nature of people and organisms. I think of a corporation as just an organism. It's just not a very smart organism. It's self-serving. It's eating and it's pooping and it's doing its thing, and it doesn't know how to check itself. It's kind of like if you imagine like a dog that is with unlimited food or whatever, it doesn't naturally just check itself. It doesn't have that morality. A corporation does not have morality. And so they're not mutually exclusive. They're just different things. The morality of the corporation in a metaphorical standpoint, in my estimation, is really the union. It's the workers of that corporation unionizing and becoming the voice of reason for that entity is the only way that thing can have morality. So to say it's mutually exclusive I think it needs to be mutually inclusive, to be honest. I think that greed is going to be there. We humans naturally have both greed and morality in us. We're very dualistic creatures, as does the corporation, but we have to insert that into the corporation. We can't just let it run or judge it or try and kill it. It's not going to work. The only thing that's going to really solve that, governance will help that once we get there, once we fix our House of Representatives and get money out of politics and all these other things. We can start to check those things from the top. But in the time being, the union is the only thing we got. And that is morality.
Right. Thank you for actually going into that question. That was great. We're going to be wrapping up. So what I'd like you to do is, again, let everybody know what they can do to help, where they can find you.
Yeah, happy to do that. My website is tylervega.com. And there should be easy contact info. Facebook is facebook.com/Vega in the house. And I'm reachable. You can find me. My cell phone number is published in multiple places. And I need crew for my ship, or the people need crew for their ship. We need people gathering signatures for I-1600. We really need that. And while you're doing that, you can support whatever candidate is running in your district by gathering signatures for them as well. In a perfect world, we would have, a small campaign team, kind of like you guys are, but dedicated to every one of these progressive candidates. And I'll mention them out of love and respect. In CD9, Sarah Smith; in CD10, Tambourine Borelli; in CD3, Dorothy Gasquet; and in CD8, Robert Hunsiger. The people are standing up, and they need the people to succeed. These are all David and Goliath level campaigns, and every ounce of help is more than needed. And so reach out to me or us. WashingtonBerniecrats.org has a link to volunteer sites. Look all over the internet and get on one of these teams. And if you want to be on a really interesting and awesome, intrepid team aboard a 80-foot schooner, then definitely call me. And if you want to help me gather signatures for my own campaign and you're in CD6, I could really use your help. And so could all of these other people. So tylervega.com is the easiest way to kind of look in to look for contact info. It should be pretty easy to get to me from there.
Thank you again, Tyler, for taking your time and coming on the show today and presenting your campaign to our audience. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you again. Okay, Courtney. Courtney is going to be coming on here, and she's going to be talking about some updates in our Washington legislature. So are you ready to take that away, Courtney?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Rhonda, and thanks for joining us, Tyler. I am in CD6, and I care. So we have today some good. We have House Bill 3003. What it is it's actually in lieu of I-940, the citizens initiative that we also call De-escalate Washington. I think I misspelled something. All right, so it's De-escalate Washington, but in legislative bill form. So it's kind of flattering that our legislature liked the citizens' work so much that they will own it themselves. And that might be a little hint of what's the bad. They've also, they've passed it. And by an overwhelming majority. I believe there was 73 yays. So that is a bipartisan support. And I'm very glad of that. It does mean that we don't get to vote on it as a state, as the initiative process puts it on our ballot. So it's flattering and good that they recognize the quality legislation that it is. The negative is that it kind of waters down the impact of the citizens' hurrah on doing the hard work of getting it there. We got it there because they didn't. So I just want to own the good and the bad of that. So then we have Senate Bill 5386 coming up. And I'm reading it, and I will admit that I would rather be sitting with someone who is used to reading legislation. So I have more study to do on this. It is supported. It's primarily sponsored by Democrats, but there's a Republican who has sponsored it as well. Some of the social feedback I've had on this bill is that it protects Washington from Tim Eyman style initiatives that sometimes violate our state constitution. So what I don't understand is that there's already a process by which initiatives are reviewed for constitutionality. And so either the process was broken or not fully established when Tim Eyman's previous bills have come through, or they abused the system somehow. Also, so the name of SB 5386 is Strengthening the Initiative Process by Providing for More Comprehensive Review Before Initiatives Receive Ballot Titles. And so far as I can tell, it adds a step of approval, and it lengthens the time from 7 days to 20 days that the review is made in by the Secretary of State, if I'm not mistaken. They review the constitutionality, the legal aspects of this law to make sure that, if we put forth an initiative that violates law already, that initiative cannot move forward. So there are checkpoints on the initiative process. What we need to make sure is that any change to the citizens' initiative is not based on protecting us from one person who has abused the process in the past. And by one person, really, we're talking about his corporate sponsors. So we also need to remember that it's not just one person, it's his corporate sponsor. We're trying to protect ourselves from corporate manipulations. So I do support the intent. I do think that we might be able to create a different solution to this problem, because we do not want to make the citizens' initiative process harder for citizens. We want to eliminate the ability to purchase ballot access through the initiative, citizens' initiative process. So there are other solutions, I think, that we need to look more closely at. And this whole good and bad of these two bills really culminate into the idea that is most important to me in this segment. Do not become complacent. Just because the Democrats are in control of the legislature does not mean that everything that they do is in our best interest, because we must remember that while our communities are made up primarily of people who vote Republican or Democrat, and a little nod to all the people not voting, wake it up, people. But the voters of the average voter, Democrat, Republican, is not the same as the Democrat and Republican we talk about at who are already in elected office. That's when I start talking about corporatists and the oligarchy. So the centrist Dem or the centrist Republican does not translate to a centrist elected official. It translates to a corporatist elected official. So we need to make sure that the donors, no matter the party, are not leading the legislature. So one, that means we have to run uncorrupted candidates at the state level, and we need to vote for them, and we need to hold those who are already in office accountable for these kinds of actions. Last week we talked about Senate Bill 6617, where the governor vetoed it, and I mentioned then, we don't thank Governor Inslee for doing the right thing when it was because we held his feet to the fire. We have to thank ourselves. So do not become complacent just because the right letter has the majority in the legislature. We do have to stay vigilant. Stay vigilant. And we're told to vote in a way that can sometimes mean a compromise on our values based on viability. We can't keep doing that. And but when we do that, we're told to vote for those people, and then we'll hold their feet to the fire. But what seems to happen is that we relax. And it happened with Obama, because he took 2 wars and expanded it to 8, and there was no anti-war movement. So people, we have to stay awake, and we have to keep burning. So throw another log on the fire and stay vigilant. Thank you.
Wow, that was very heartfelt segment there, Courtney. Thank you for that. Are there any questions out there regarding any of these new bills?
No, didn't have any questions. It was a very good segment. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Dang. Ooh. The truth. Huh. All right. We're going to go ahead and go to Brian now with what he.
Well, wait, I think we had something else that Courtney wanted to do real quick.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes. Please take that away, Courtney.
I just get so carried away, I forget what I'm supposed to do next. Yes. Well, it is that time again where we recap our awesome production system, Uphill Media. Thank you, John Ellis, for all you do for us. And remember, this is a Progressive Washington show, but we are through Uphill Media. And Uphill used to be Bernie 2016 TV and Political Revolution TV. And they've been doing this for a few years, so their experience is vital to this show. This is not just those on the camera that you see. There's a lot of magic behind the scenes, and we have to support Uphill Media. And we remind you that when you donate to Uphill Media, if you search uphillmedia.org, you click live stream productions, you click on our show, Progressive Washington, and then the button says support our show. Now, all monies go into the big caddy that is Uphill Media, but John will know that it comes from or through us here at Progressive Washington, and we want to do our part. We want to make sure that we are self-sustaining, and so we need $27 per show to make that happen. And so that equals, if you count 5 weeks per month, $130. So if we could get 130 people to give a recurring donation of $1, because recurring donations are what make us really, really happy, because it's money we can count on. It doesn't vary, and it allows us to make plans. So we strongly encourage recurring donations, and even $1, if we get 130 of you, covers our costs. And I think we can do that. And we'll hope to have an update for everyone, all our viewers, over the next couple weeks to see if we're making any headway on that goal. But please surprise me and go big. So make it bigger than $1. Make it big, make it 150 recurring people making recurring donations. But we value your engagement through chat, and we are dependent on your financial generosity. This is better than PBS. I mean, we don't have Big Bird, but you do have Courtney Love. So I think that should be enough.
That's the next best thing.
Yeah,
definitely enough. Thank you again, Courtney. That was so beautifully done. All right, Brian, looks like you're ready to go. Go ahead, take it away. Yes.
Great job, Courtney. Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, everybody in chat. Just want to explain, had a little fun with the boys this weekend, so no worries on this little boo-boo here. We'll not worry about that. So everything's good. But wanted to get into standing up to the LNG and 253 here. So last week, I gave you guys a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of stuff that wasn't so happy. And so John pointed that out. Now, this week, I wanted to give a little positive notes of what people are doing in the community, right? Of course, we stand with Puyallup. This right here is one of their protests that they had. One of the dudes was standing on a 10-foot tall tripod to let PSC know that they're not going to stop until this project is dead. And be able to see that commitment from these people is just absolutely astonishing, that they're going to go until it's done. And that right there is something to be proud of. So there's more protesters here locking arms, standing together against this future disaster. Like to go back to this one right here. It's we feel like we're going back to the 1800s. Like, it's no joke. We're literally, it's like the days of Custer and Wounded Knee. I mean, it's not anything to be joking about. This is absolutely horrendous. These water protectors are holding this up for the betterment of all of us in the Puget Sound area. So kudos to them for what they're doing. I have nothing but support to give for them. And right here, you can see why this LNG is being put into place and what the projections are of the profits and the demand that they're looking at. This right here is why they want this project, right? All they see is dollar signs. All they see is profit, and they could give a damn whether or not they take your water and poison it. So be mindful of that. These people are not on your side. This is all that they care about are numbers. So there's other people that are doing some great things. This the Columbian, article in our review. I wanted to read a small excerpt from it. It just really struck me as a defining moment. So therefore, we are left with these. The oil terminal is dead. Long live the oil terminal. While that ancient proclamation traditionally has been used to mark the passage of one king and the herald to the ascension of a successor, we shall use it for another purpose, to note the passage of the proposal and to celebrate its legacy upon this community. The saga has provided a defining moment for Clark County. And that was in response to what they did to stop the oil terminal. And I believe, Rhonda, you had a little bit of involvement in that. So were you part of that? Did anything happen?
Yeah, I was a part of it, not as big as others in Clark County, like Alona and Don Steinke. They really championed it. But yeah, I did show up to quite a few of those hearings and rallies. And I love what Clark County has done. They've really come together in building a coalition that has stopped so many things. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
So if it can happen there, it can happen in Tacoma. So, you know, just remember there's hope. You know, talk to your friends and family, get involved, especially if you live in the South Puget Sound right now. It's a hot spot for things going on. This project will affect everyone in the Puget Sound area at some point. And we need to come together as a community to tell these people, or these corporations, and our legislators that our land is not for sale for more fossil fuels, and our lives are not privy to profit. We are human beings. We deserve the sanctity of life. We deserve to be able to raise our children in peace. So please stop this project and let us live our lives in peace. So thank you for this. If there's any questions, I will be able to take them. And if not, we can move on.
Any questions in the audience, Courtney?
Candidates.
Well, no direct questions, but I do feel like I need to clarify when I said we got I-940 until the legislature took over. By we, I meant Washington, but it was pointed out by Kathy that really the Puyallup tribe made that happen. So I do want to acknowledge that comment from the gallery. And back to you, Brian.
Awesome. Thank you. So, all right, we're going to go on to progressive updates in a flash if nobody has any other things to bring up on that one. So again, thank you everybody in chat for being engaged. Like I love being in chat with you guys. So if you guys have any questions for me, remember I have a Facebook page and Twitter, so reach out, feel free. I like talking with you guys. But let's get on to some candidates. Saturday, 10 a.m., Dorothy Gasquet. She has her Rebel headquarters soft launch, 10 a.m. Vancouver. That is going to be awesome. She's so excited. She put out a live video earlier this week too, and gave a quick walkthrough of everything they've got going on. So go and check that out. All of her events are going to be in the description below. I linked up to her event page. So all you got to do is go to that page and you'll be able to find all the events you could ever ask for, anything you want to do. Then we've got Sarah Smith. Sarah Smith has two events coming up. One is a meet and greet in Seattle at 3 p.m. on the 11th, and the other is a whole fun-filled weekend of action, including phone banking, which can be done from home, by the way. And I actually did that for whole Washington a few weeks back, and it's actually quite neat to be able to reach out to people, and it's very encouraging when they come back with some of the things of how great it is to talk to people who are really doing this kind of stuff. So if you're scared about doing it, I want to encourage you guys to go to some of these events that we have planned for like volunteers and such, which I'll have more on that coming up. So again, these are all people in our coalition that are doing this, and we have all of these people or these coalitions listed down below. Go on ahead and feel free and send them a volunteer, get involved, do anything you can to stay informed, right? We've got upcoming events, right? So I wanted to give a little video. It's a short clip. This is something that I made in correlation with Laura Fielding with Red Berets, and she's doing amazing things, and she came to me with an idea to do a short like video slide to kind of promote what they're doing. And so if John has a second to cue that up, we'll be able to watch that. It should be pretty short. I think it's only like a minute, 30 seconds, and using some of the software that I've getting to know. So if there's anybody out there that knows how to do this stuff, I think that John and I are going to be doing a little more collaborating on future projects, and that would be pretty neat to get going. So if that's ready, we'll be able to take a peek at that. And this is just the start of learning how to do this stuff. So there we go. We have that. I thought it was pretty neat. It didn't take too long to make that one. There was a second one that's on the Progressive Washington Media page. If you guys are curious, you can go on ahead and check that out. It's a little longer. It's a little mellower, according to some. But after that, sure does make me want to do some knitting, right? Or at least learn how. So in light of that, right, we're calling all fiber artists. We need more Red Berets. The Red Berets are always looking for more artists to be able to help them out. The link below in the description will take you to the Red Berets website, and you should be able to get all set up on that front. Laura Fielding's a wonderful person. She's doing great things. She's reaching out all across the nation to get these things done. So anything you can do to help would be absolutely fantastic. And with that, going to some volunteer events for I-1600. I put that link down below for all of the events on the page, and you'll be able to find all of your different kinds of events that you'd like to get involved in. But I'd like to highlight this one for the Zoom volunteer event. I attended one of these, and I actually learned a lot because I went out that following weekend, and what I learned in that session actually translated into signatures onto my petition. So I highly encourage you guys to check this out. Very, very good people that run it. It's very laid back and easy to get along and understand what's going on and how to do this stuff. I mean, a lot of it is your own mind kind of getting in the way. So getting over that hump it's pretty easy. So that the link for the Washington event for their whole page, again, it's down below. There's a March for Our Lives coming up on March 24th. It's a nationwide march in Florida, or not in Florida, nationwide, in solidarity with the students in Florida. And I think that Courtney, did you wanted to say anything on this at all?
Yes, regarding March for Our Lives, it's a very important subject. However, in Washington, it unfortunately coincides with the Washington State Democrat Party caucus, where people will be electing delegates to the state convention, where rules will be made.
Gotcha. So
while I enjoy a good heartfelt march, missing an opportunity to vote just seems, to me, it's nearly criminal.
Right. Oh, hopefully it wasn't strategically placed that way, but we'll do what we can.
Yeah, I don't think there was any ill will. It was planned on the East Coast. It wasn't in regards to us.
Right. So just be mindful, everybody, that, pick your priorities.
That's right.
So, and then I wanted to highlight this great event coming up on April Fools. No More Fools Day fundraiser. Event will be on this channel with all of us from Progressive California, Oregon, and Washington. And we're going to be able to have some great candidates, some great music, some great fun, some great conversation. Would love to have you guys in the chat, hang out with you. I think it's going to last about 4 hours or so. Should start around like 4 p.m. It's going to be amazing. So I encourage you all to check it out. And thank you. That's all I got for today. If there's any questions, we can do that or keep plugging along.
I just wanted to say and point out, just say thank you to Brian. He's jumped into this media thing with all of his heart, and he is learning every day, trying to how to put pieces together and these videos. And so thank you, Brian, for putting so much love.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I actually enjoy doing the tech side of things. So of course I'm always open to guidance and help. I'm still learning all of this stuff, but yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and I can't wait to see where it ends up. So thank you all.
Thank you again. All right. So we've got a song that Tyler chose, and Tyler, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to go ahead and introduce the song and say a little bit about it while we go out.
Sure. This is the song is called "Uprising" by Muse, and it was. I mean, I've known it for a long time, but it was actually brought up because Sister Tambourine Borelli, running in CD10, was like, "Yo, if we ever perform together, this is the tune I want to do." I was a musician am a musician, fluent in a dozen different instruments, and tambourine was a vocalist, vocal vocalist for most of her younger years, and so we look forward to someday having time to actually do music. And some of the things that we talk about doing is this, and like last time I was on the show, we used Leonard Cohen's Democracy, and just really, making use of the muse, the way that can kind of create bridges and get us past these kind of wordy barriers that we deal with all the time. Anyway, it's a great tune that says a lot of what many of us are feeling on the inside, and maybe are a little hesitant to say too loud.
Thank you. And thank you all again for joining.
Have a good weekend, everybody.